It's remarkable how many of the most meaningful scientific discoveries in human history came from not empirical deductions or experiments, but came from thought experiments, actually. Thought experiments of daring thinkers who were willing to challenge the most hardened assumptions of their day, do it with courage, face consequence for doing it, but helped us see the world in a way that we otherwise wouldn't have. Think about Galileo, who I thought of recently in the context of the total solar eclipse. He was somebody who thought in a way that was impossible in his era that the Earth wasn't actually the center of the universe, but believed that the Earth was likely among different planetary bodies revolving around the sun. I know that seems natural to us today, but if your fixed point of view is that the Earth is the center of the universe, that's a radical idea to have. It was only later that we got really full empirical proof for his vision. Or think about Einstein's theory of relativity. It wasn't like he was able to collect measurements from black holes to prove it. He was just engaging in a thought experiment in the first place. And I think it's inspiring. It tells each of us that the power to make discoveries often rests within our own minds, to let go of the assumptions that we're encumbered by, by what society teaches us. Part of what we need to do is to be able to think independently when something doesn't quite make sense, to be able to challenge that. Not just through empirical science, that's important, but that's later on, but through even our own thought experiments grounded in rationality, asking what's actually true. It's worth reflecting even for a little bit on what assumption of today might we adopt so vehemently right now, but 250 years from now or 1,000 years from now, we might say was laughable in retrospect. I personally think there's a reasonable chance that 1,000 years from now, human beings, our progeny, will look back at us and say that, can you believe that human beings back in the year 2024 believed that a small, less than 1 degree rise in global surface temperatures could have spelled the end of humanity? That might sound as ridiculous to them as it does to us today to look back at the Middle Ages when people thought that a solar eclipse might spell the beginning of the end of the world, or that it was a dragon eating the sun. That sounds as ridiculous to our ears today as it might to somebody in the year 3000 who looks back and says people in the year 2024 believed that if surface temperatures on the Earth went up by a little bit, somehow that would spell the end of humanity. It's humbling to think about from time to time, intellectually humbling, what assumptions we might be making today, and God forbid, what steps we might be taking as a society to act on those assumptions. Remember, Galileo, he was somebody who was punished significantly to death for his own beliefs. Well, let's make sure that we're not doing the same thing today. And you know what? All of us, I'm not pointing to the left or right on this, all of us might be vulnerable to that kind of failure, but all we need to do is at least take a step to reflect on it. And that's our best chance of making the kinds of discoveries that the Galileos and the Einsteins have made that we're grateful for today.